Hey everybody, welcome to Tuesday Talks with Craig. It is Tuesday, June the 22nd, and the final Tuesday talk of the month of June, and this will actually be the last Tuesday talk. We're going to take a bit of a break over the summer. So as a church staff, we're going to just focus on our Thursday Thoughts live stream through the week. So this week, you'll hear Tuesday talk from me. Pastor Tim will lead a Wednesday worship on Wednesday. And then I believe I'll be sharing the Thursday thought later this week. And we'll keep Thursday thoughts going through the summer. But Tuesday talks will take a bit of a break. So today I just wanted to kind of wrap up this little mini series that we've been in the book of Acts. And we've been looking at the mission of God. In Acts 1:8, Jesus gave his disciples this mission or this instruction. He said that they were to wait for the Holy Spirit to come on them, and then they would be his witnesses in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and to the ends of the earth. And sort of this idea that the Holy Spirit would come upon them and fill them with power, and then they would proclaim and spread the love and the good news about Jesus from Jerusalem and then out to Judea and then Samaria and to the ends of the earth. And so this mission of God is unfolding through the book of Acts, and we've been talking about it in different ways throughout the past couple of weeks. Last week we looked at Acts chapter 8, where the church was persecuted, and because of that persecution, they were scattered. And in their scattering, they continued to spread the good news of Jesus wherever they went. So God used this, what was intended for harm against the church and to sort of stop the mission, God actually used it to advance the mission. So pretty cool. And then today, we're going to be looking at Acts chapter 9 and sort of the continuation of this mission. And we're going to look at one person in particular. If you're familiar with Acts chapter 9, it's the story of Saul, who would later become known as Paul, one of the greatest apostles, wrote most of the New Testament. And so he had a dramatic encounter with Jesus. And so we're going to kind of talk about this idea of a transformed life in relationship to God's mission. God transforms people so that they can join him in the mission of sharing and spreading the love and good news of Jesus to the world around them. So in Acts chapter 9, we have Saul. And let me just read a little bit here and we'll kind of talk as we go. It says, meanwhile, so the church was being persecuted, and Saul was one of the front runners to the groups that were persecuting the church. So it says, meanwhile, Saul was still breathing out murderous threats against the Lord's disciples. He went to the high priest and asked him for letters to the synagogues in Damascus, so that if he found any there who belonged to the way of Jesus, whether men or women, he might take them as prisoners to Jerusalem. So Saul, was on this mission to stop the spreading of the good news of Jesus. He was on a mission to sort of crush the church. And that was what he was about to do. So as he neared Damascus on his journey, it says, suddenly a light from heaven flashed around him. He fell to the ground and heard a voice say to him, Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me? And he said, who are you, Lord? I am Jesus, whom you are persecuting, he replied. Now get up and go into the city, and you will be told what you must do. The men traveling with Saul stood there speechless. They heard the sound, but did not see anyone. Saul got up from the ground, but when he opened his eyes, he could see nothing. So they led him by the hand into Damascus, and for 3 days he was blind and did not eat or drink anything. So Jesus shows up on this Damascus road. Saul is on a mission to crush the church. And Jesus shows up in a powerful way, and Saul encounters him in this blinding light and an audible voice, and it changed the trajectory of Paul's life, or Saul's life. Saul was on a mission to crush the church, and this encounter with Jesus changed his life so dramatically that his mission, his purpose, shifted. And Saul, later on in this passage, it talks about how Jesus spoke to another disciple named Ananias, And he said to Ananias in a vision, he spoke to him and he said, "Go to the house of Judas on Straight Street and ask for a man from Tarsus named Saul, for he is praying. In a vision, he has seen a man named Ananias come and place his hands on him to restore his sight." And so Jesus invites Ananias to go and find Saul and pray for him. And Ananias is nervous. He said, "I've heard all kinds of reports about this guy. Isn't he the one that's persecuting the church?" But the Lord said to Ananias, "Go. This man is my chosen instrument to proclaim my name to the Gentiles and their kings and to the people of Israel. I will show him how much he must suffer for my name." And so Jesus invites Ananias to be a part of this transformation process. Ananias goes and finds Saul and prays for him, and it says that scales fell from Saul's eyes and he was able to see, and then he ate some food and regained his strength. And this began the journey of Saul becoming the man of God that Jesus intended him to be. Jesus said that he was going to be his chosen instrument to proclaim his name to the Gentiles and their kings and to the people of Israel. And so the rest of the book of Acts is this continuing story of the mission of God to spread the love and good news of Jesus to the world around. Saul, or Paul, became central to this story, the rest of this story in Acts. Saul was to become God's chosen instrument to take the good news of Jesus around the world. And so just a couple things I want us to consider from this passage and this story of Saul's dramatic conversion. First thing is that Jesus changes people's lives. Jesus is in the business of transforming us. Even you think back to the disciples in Acts chapter 1, he promised that the Holy Spirit would come upon them. And in Acts 2, when the Holy Spirit came, those disciples, those followers of Jesus were radically changed. Their lives were transformed because of the indwelling presence of the Holy Spirit. And for those of us who are followers of Jesus, we too are in the process of being changed. Jesus is in the business of transforming our lives. And the mission that Jesus had in mind for Saul was a big one. Not many of us will become like Paul, the great apostle, but all of us share the same mission that Paul had, to go and spread the love and the good news of Jesus to the people around us. And so I believe something that we can learn from this passage is that though we are not the apostle, we are not Paul, Jesus wants to transform our lives, and he wants to give us a new mission in life. Saul's mission was to crush the church, and I'm guessing that none of us would share that mission. If you're listening to this talk, you probably have some interest in following Jesus. And we all have our own little missions, right? Some of us, maybe it's a mission to make a certain amount of money, or it's a mission to have a certain kind of family, or it's a mission to do whatever. We fill our time in our lives with things that are important to us. And I think one thing that we can be reminded of in this passage is that Jesus has a mission for us to go and make disciples, to go and spread the love and good news of Jesus to the people around us. And that's really important to him, and it should be important to us. And through the book of Acts, it's really this story of the mission of God advancing and spreading through all kinds of people. And Jesus wants to use you to share his love and to share the good news about him to the people in your life. And that should be important to us. And so that's something for us to think about too, that we have a mission. We share Paul's mission to go and make disciples, to spread the love and good news of Jesus. And if there's other missions in your life, if there's other purposes or things that are important to you, maybe it's something to consider this mission of God. And how can you be involved in his mission in the world in which he's placed you, in the neighborhood in which you live, or in the workplace that you go to, or in the school that you attend, or with your friends that you hang out with? Who are the people that Jesus has placed around you that he desires you to have an influence on, to be a witness for him? So just a couple things as we wrap this up. Saul was transformed radically. And when Ananias came and prayed for him, it said the scales fell from his eyes and he was able to see again and see more clearly. And he probably had a whole different perspective on life. His life was so radically changed and transformed. What kind of transformation are you seeking from Jesus these days? Are you seeing things the way Jesus wants you to see them? Are you seeing with his perspective? Are you sharing that purpose, that mission that he has? What kind of transformation needs to take place in your life to be the man or woman of God that Jesus desires you to be. If Jesus was to speak to another follower of Jesus in a vision, he would probably have amazing things to say about you to that person. Things that he wants to accomplish in and through you. So just maybe be thinking about that. What are the things in my life that need a transformation, that need renewal, that need a makeover? What are some of those things that I could be asking Jesus to transform in my life? And then maybe who are some people that you could join in the mission with? Paul didn't go on this mission on his own. He was always with others. We see in this passage, Ananias came and entered the scene. Later on, Barnabas would become a co-worker with Paul. Timothy, there was others that Paul recruited along the way, and he shared the mission with other followers of Jesus. Who are some of the people in your life that Jesus might be inviting you to reach out to say, hey, how can we make a difference together? How can we share the love and good news of Jesus together? How can we labor in the mission of God together? So what some of the transformations that Jesus wants to accomplish in your life? Who are some of the people in your life that you could bring in to share the mission together? And then who are some of the people that Jesus is inviting you to go and share with? Maybe to reach out to in love and action. Maybe to share the good news about Jesus with. Who are some of those people that he's placed in your life? Just like Jesus used Paul in amazing ways, just like he transformed his life radically, he wants to transform us. He wants to use us in his cause in this world, in his mission. And so let's surrender to him in those ways and follow his lead. So that's it for these talks through Acts. That's it for the Tuesday talk today, and we'll pick it up again in a couple of months. But thanks for tuning in today. I'll see you again for a Thursday thought later this week and probably again next week. And thanks for joining me. And